I'd like to address this idea that comes up that people believe that a virtual assistant are this magical plug and play formula. Well, I need a virtual assistant. I want them to be pre-trained. I want them to come in and just be able to do everything with very little interaction with me. That's a problem. Of course, it can be very useful for someone to have industry experience or experience in a particular business area. That can be a great benefit. Not speaking to virtual assistants for any reason, including unwillingness to train them, is a recipe for disaster for your personal relationship with them. When I look at what has occasionally, we've got a great success rate overall in placing entrepreneurs with virtual assistants. Overall, we have a fantastic success rate, and it's not easy. The people business, matching one personality with another and making sure they work well together, it's not easy. That's why recruitment is a huge lucrative industry. But at one point, when I was looking at the most common problems of why it might not work out in the instances it didn't work out, one thing that came up a few times, which will almost always guarantee that this will not go well if you're considering this, is when that entrepreneurial person hires a virtual assistant and does not speak to them, communicate very much. And you have to imagine that this virtual assistant is excited to start an online job with an overseas boss. And at the point where they're starting their first day and they're excited to meet you and they're excited to get going, that they get no real contact from you the first few days, or from someone else in your organization if you're able to do that. That person is immediately going to feel a little maybe ignored, disengaged, demotivated, etc. And that is a problem, especially when work from home can be quite lonely. So I just like to mention that human element of it, because that is really part of it. And if you don't want to have a relationship with anybody because you don't like people, that's a problem when working with staff, with working with clients. Entrepreneurs need to really have those skills, develop those skills, or understand how important those skills are. And this is bigger than just virtual assistants. This people interaction with people thing. So I'd like to mention that I'd love to say that no one's ever got that wrong, but a lot of people have got that wrong. I'm really focused on building great relationships with my team. I do a lot of things to try and achieve that. We do it pretty well the vast majority of the time. I'm really proud of my company culture. However, what I have done really badly in the very early days, and we're talking 8 years ago, is I gave really terrible instructions, because I thought that person could magically look into my head, see my brain and how it worked, and understand what I want. People cannot do that. They can never do that. So please bear that in mind. And you do still need to give great instructions. And that could also be true even if the VA has got extensive previous experience. Okay. So why would that be true if a VA has extensive previous experience? I wanted to give a couple of examples to talk about that. Let's take example number one. Let's say that you are a UK property investor or real estate investor, and you have a strategy of property investing that's called the HMO strategy. For anyone who's not familiar with that, you buy a big house, possibly an apartment, and you rent it by the room for better cash flow. And let's say that this virtual assistant has kind of done this before, but they previously worked in the USA or Australia, and that strategy either did not exist or was completely different. And then maybe even if they did it in the UK, if they previously worked with another real estate investor who did that strategy in London, and you actually invest in the north of England, the property investors will know that has a huge impact on your numbers and what works and the tenant types, etc. Property investing is different depending on the very specific area of the UK in which you're operating. So that means it's challenging to find a Filipino virtual assistant with many years experience doing exactly what you want your way. That's unlikely. So there will be some training, even if they understand a lot of the principles of how you make money out of real estate. Even if they do it themselves, they still need to learn your processes and your communication style and your brands and your strategy. And to take an example for myself at the Freedom Geek, the way that I communicate with my clients might be very different from how a different virtual assistant agency does it. I'm quite proud to be different from other virtual assistant agencies because I want to be an innovator. And why would that be so different? Well, we might have very different operational processes. We might have very different approaches to customer care. We might have different offerings and value propositions. And if I don't teach the VA that very quickly, they could come to me with 10 years of experience and still mess up on the first day because they send an email and it's not the way I want it done because of everything that I've just mentioned and possibly many other factors. So how we do things within our business is often a part of our vision of who we are as entrepreneurs. It impacts our brands, how we relate to our clients, and what we offer and the specific problems that we solve. So that will be specific, and the processes and the instructions needed to support that are also specific.